Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today. I want to start off today's Starfield video with a completely unrelated PSA. Watch Death Note. That is all. I just finished it for the first time yesterday and I am distraught right now. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today we are sitting down to talk about Starfield. Oh my, more release date rumors. Things are picking up and I think the pressure is stirring the build a little bit. We're now in February and people do believe that the longer we wait, the less likely it's going to be that Starfield drops in June. Now, of course, as I've said before, Hi-Fi Rush has us a bit off balance. You know, is this what Bethesda's going to do with Starfield as well, where they don't need as big of a marketing period? We're going to talk about that and more, as there have been multiple release date rumors from Jez Corden, from GOG, and we're going to dig through all of them and discuss them. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, you're into Starfield news and information, you are, of course, in the right place. Consider subscribing. Let's get rid of the most popular rumor right now. We're going to have to debunk one, sadly, here today. So let's do that, and then we'll dig into Jez and the current state right now with Starfield's Developer Direct and the impending first half window coming to a close. So starting off, when you head over to GOG right now, which is a popular video game storefront on PC, you'll see that Starfield currently has a release date listed of June 29th, 2023. Now, when you look at that, you go, wow, they're just barely squeaking that one in before the end of the, quote, first half of the year, end quote. However, unfortunately, after a deeper look, this is a rumor that kind of showcases how the internet functions. You know, when you see something pop up that's an old rumor, but people are treating it like it's a new rumor because people forgot about it and it was the buzz on social media for a little bit, so websites cover it and everyone just gets ahead of themselves collectively. That's what happened here. So let's go through it a little bit more. For starters, this has been the set release date, I put in quotes, on GOG since 7 months ago, as it was picked up on Reddit by user Dirte Day. There were also websites writing that it was International Space Day, just this June 29th date. But whenever I looked up International Space Date or searched for space-related holidays, someone can correct me, please, by all means. But all I was finding was April 12th, 2023. I didn't find anything related to June 29th, June in general, with some type of space celebration day. So I don't know what everyone was seeing with that one, but that was something that I was seeing put on various websites. So I don't think that is going to lend it any credibility. That's something that the Bethesda community always hooks to. And look, I've been guilty of it back in the Fallout 4 days. Like, oh, Bethesda should announce something for Fallout. You know, October 23rd, that's the day of the Great War. Like, they need to drop something this day. Like, drop a real bomb of an announcement, Bethesda. No, like, they never did. It's just one of those things where I don't think companies operate this way anymore. They just operate in what makes sense for them. How can we surprise folks? How can we use that to market our game more? And how can we generate more sales? That's the sad reality of it. I hate to be that guy. Very little do we see companies play with fun dates. That's why I like BioWare, because you have things like, for example, N7 Day with BioWare. I love that type of stuff. So anyway, beyond that, when you look at June 29th on the calendar, it falls on a Thursday. Now, stranger things have happened, but, you know, usually you're releasing a game on either a Tuesday or a Friday, maybe like Thursday at midnight, but at that point it's Friday, right? So I don't think this is anything to really lean into. There's so many reasons suggesting why this is not real beyond it just being what it is, which is a placeholder. I've seen a lot of people tagging me over it, asking me to cover it. Matty, is it happening? Is it going to land in June? I've talked extensively about the rumors I've heard with the June release date. I'll reiterate them in this video when we get into Jez's rumor. But first thing I wanted to do was shut down what's happening here. It is not credible. It is a placeholder. That doesn't mean it's not going to drop in June, but that specific date does not have credibility because it's been there for a long while. So with that, we move into the next rumor here. This one was covered by GameRanks. It says Starfield will release June 2023. Here's what Jez Corden had to say on the Xbox 2 podcast. Jez Corden, speaking in the Xbox 2 podcast, has stated that he believes Starfield will be releasing June 2023. Jez clarifies that he was not given a date or release window by his sources. Rather, this is his predictions based on the information he has, including what his sources have told him. Jez is also willing to bet that Starfield could be released after June of 2023. Finally, Jez's sources told him that Bethesda has not set a release date for Starfield themselves. This suggests that there is enough variables that haven't been narrowed down that would make the studio certain how long it'll take them to finish working on the game before they can release it. I covered this one because a lot of people don't know how my boy does the rumor game. So I'm going to try to help educate and signal boost it because like Jez is extremely credible. We want to make sure that we know what he's up to. So when Jez puts out a report on Windows Central, that's the more like take it to the bank. Like we can pretty much count on this. It's been corroborated by tons of sources. When it comes to my man talking on a podcast, it's much like many of us podcasters. We just like to chat, talk about what we're hearing. Information is power here. It's where the, if you will, quote, less credible stuff goes for him in this case. And so that's what he's doing. It's just like, hey, here's what's happening. Here's what I'm hearing. Now, I've talked about June a lot for Starfield on this channel, and especially to start off the year, because one of the rumors that I had shared from a very credible source, and I continue to repeat it, is like there was always the possibility this does slip out of June. And I always emphasized from report one, possibility, possibility, possibility. Not to cover my butt, as I've always said, it's just to make sure that people know that there is the chance it releases in June. But the reality is this. Many people are hearing, myself included, that there is this unknown about Starfield on it could come sooner, it could come later. They're trying to figure something out with it. No one really knows what it is, and it's why you're seeing very minimal reporting on it. As I talked about in our last Starfield video last week, it's just so many unknowns surrounding it. It's why I suggested that if any reporters or people who have access to rumors are watching my content, you just kind of stay out of the reporting side of the game. I do believe information is power, but there are so many conflicting reports here. Jez and I do share information from time to time because we both have access to different sources. So it helps to have us corroborate one another's reporting. It's just that way. And so one thing we did talk about at one point was going on with Starfield and June and how it's looking, and it was the same story that I've told time in, time out. Yeah, I've heard June. I've heard earlier than June. I've heard after June. But a lot of it's based around June, and the thing that people have really leaned into with this one is, of course, Forza Motorsport's Delight. We talked about that last video too, how this has opened up a window for Starfield. But I'm staying hard and fast on the idea that I want Starfield to arrive as soon as possible, but for me, if it has to get delayed, it gets delayed, and I lean more towards the slight delay happening as we progress deeper in the year. The reason for that is I just strongly believe that this is not the type of game Xbox wants to just drop. This is the biggest game for your platform, and I do think you could argue it in two different directions right now. There is my argument, which is you probably want to spend, I would say, at least 4 months kind of building up the hype for this. Trailers here, I think of Fallout 4 with the special videos, really building a personality around Starfield. Testing for press, I'm not talking about just myself, but like just press in general, building up the confidence that this is going to be a big heavy hitter for Xbox. People need to hear about it. It's not Fallout, it's not Elder Scrolls. That's my side of the argument. The other fair side of the argument is, well, they actually announced Starfield really back in 2018 with Fallout 76. The reality is this game has been in the mindset of consumers for a long while. Now, of course, more people are privy to it with gameplay dropping, trailers dropping, the Xbox acquisition, so on and so forth. So I do think it is very fair to look at the situation and say, well, Bethesda kind of has been marketing this for a while. We got a trailer in 2018. We got a trailer in 2020. We got gameplay last year. I mean, we continue to hear more about it. Into the Starfield, Constellation questions. We're getting all of these various trailers and stuff. So you could fairly argue, hey, Maddie, they have actually been marketing this game and they have built a lot around it. When you combine that with what Andy Robinson had reported over at Video Games Chronicle, which is that the marketing budget for Xbox is shrinking. They may not have the money to spend on creating Starfield events and building a lot of community hype for it because they seem to lean more and more now into the virality of Game Pass. Really starting with High on Life, we saw it again with Hi-Fi Rush, and I could see them saying, well, we don't need to market as traditionally hard. Like people were dropping rumors like, oh, Xbox is going to drop a Starfield trailer during the Super Bowl. I'm like, why are we believing this type of crap? Like, seriously? A Super Bowl commercial? What, has that ever been true before? I feel like I hear it every year that some big game's going to get announced during the Super Bowl. It's just never, to my knowledge, happened. So I didn't buy it from day one, but the reality is that they could look at the big spending opportunities and go, well, we have Game Pass with now 30 million users. And if 10 million people are enjoying the game a lot and they're sharing TikToks and tweets and YouTube videos, the game markets itself by word of mouth, which is proven to over time be more effective. You know, we just saw them drop High on Life. It's, you know, #1 third-party game on Game Pass. You see with Hi-Fi Rush, I mean, when I beat that game, I typed it in once on my YouTube search bar just to see, hey, what are people posting for this game? And there are so many clips with hundreds of thousands of views, and now it's constantly recommended to me ad nauseum. Fortunately, again, I beat it, so it was like, oh my God, they're recommending like ending videos, they're recommending special dialogue cutscenes, the secret ending, and so on and so forth. That there's so much happening with the game, and I think a lot of the virality is created through Game Pass. So I think it is fair to argue in a counterpoint to me that, you know what, Matty, this could drop sooner than you think. I just think the defining factor here is, when do they set the Developer Direct? Developer Direct is one that's going to be entirely focused around Starfield as a deep dive. Those are Bethesda's words here. It's a standalone show and they claim it's in the works. I think if it lands in February, we'll still get Starfield in the first half of the year. But as we push into March, man, would it be a huge swing of momentum to say, here's the Developer Direct and it's still hitting the first half of the year. I know they want to meet their promise and I am totally behind that. But if meeting this arbitrary self-inflicted promise is more important than just making sure the game is polished up and that it may need an extra month, 2, or even 3, who knows, I would rather that reality, even if it means we wait a little bit longer. And I've seen the audience share the same energy. Like, yeah, we'll wait. But I just think all of this depends on the Developer Direct. The longer the Developer Direct takes to be announced, the more certain I feel that it's not going to land in the first half of the year, which makes sense, right? You're probably going to hold this thing to announce when Starfield's dropping, and you're not going to hold it until you know for certain it's going to drop. I just feel, again, that the longer it takes, the less likely it hits that first half of the year, because my theory is you want to build this entire brand around Starfield to at least some extent. This is going to be your major game of the year. You have multiple other major ones. Redfall, the rumor is Hellblade 2 as well at the end of the year. Of course, Forza is going to be a major one. There are other major pieces, but the kind of zeitgeist moment for you, and Xbox knows it, is Starfield. You probably want to have a little build up to that. When you look at the other Xbox exclusives right now, Minecraft, very popular IP even, is getting 3 months of true traditional marketing with its release date being known. Redfall is getting 4, leading into its May release date. I feel like the 3 to 4 month window just makes the most sense here. So I feel like the longer we progress into the first half, the more likely that delay is coming in. We'll see what reports end up being true and false after it's all said and done. Certainly you'll learn more about the sources. As I've said before, my source circled back to me after I said possible delay. They said, good thing you made sure to emphasize possibly, because I've been told June. And I'm like, okay, this is way too back and forth for me now. I trust you a lot. You've never been wrong, but this is way too back and forth for me. So we'll just see how it all ends up. But that is what's going on with the Starfield release date rumor conversation. The GOG one is not one you should put any stock into. I think with what Jez is saying, you should continue to put stock in the Jez. My man is spotless, but also you got to keep in mind that when he's shooting the shit on the podcast, it's a little bit different from what we get from the traditional Windows Central reporting. But in that in mind, I can corroborate the things he's hearing. And so can many others. So it is what it is. We'll see in due time. Hopefully not much longer. Of course, these are one of those things where all of us reporters would like to be wrong about it. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about what's going on with Starfield and its current release date fiasco? I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts down below, so fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the heck out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.